Scare Ball by Benjamin Burr. Chapter 1. Bitten. Ah! Scott awoke with a scream. He was lying on the living room couch. Nearby, the TV glowed with his favorite show. I must have fallen asleep, Scott thought. Scott felt a pain on his right arm. He spotted a small bite mark near his wrist. Louis! Scott shouted at his dog. The playful pup barked and ran upstairs. Bam, bam, bam. Just then, Scott heard a loud thumping outside. It was followed by the sound of rattling chains. Clash, clash, clash. What was that? Scott asked himself. Scott crawled off the couch. Moved slowly toward the living room window. Bam, bam, bam. Clash, clash, clash. The strange noises continued. Scott grabbed the curtains with his shaky hands.
Scott rumbled the curtains with his shaky hand.
He quickly pulled them open. Whoosh! Two bright lights shined in. They glowed like yellow eyes in the darkness. Chapter 2. Fast break. Scott knew the lights well. They lit the neighborhood basketball court. Beneath them, he saw kids playing a pickup game. Bam, bam, bam. The players dribbled a ball up and down the court. Clash, clash, clash. The ball crashed through the hoop's steel chain net. Scott checked the living room clock. 30 minutes until bedtime, thought. Dad, I'm going to shoot some hoops, Scott shouted. His dad was in the kitchen washing the dinner dishes. Okay, he replied, but don't be long. Scott laced his high tops and raced outside. As he neared the court, he counted 9 kids in all. The players floated through the dark like ghosts. They're really good, Scott thought. Suddenly the players stopped. One of them turned and stared. Grrr. Scott thought he heard the player growl. Maybe this wasn't such a good idea, Scott thought.
Maybe this wasn't such a good idea, Scott thought.
The player moved slowly into the light.
The player moved slowly into the light.
First, Scott saw his orange high tops.
First, Scott saw his orange high top.
Then, 2 striped socks.
Then 2 striped socks.
And finally, a pair of furry legs.
And finally, a pair of furry legs.
The player's hands, arms, and face were covered in fur too.
The player's hands, arms, and face are covered in fur too.
When he smiled, sharp fangs twinkled in the light.
When he smiled, sharp fangs twinkled in the light.
Scott gulped.
Scott gulped.
Werewolves, he thought. Chapter 3. Game on.
Game on.
Scott turned to run, but he couldn't get away. All 9 players quickly surrounded him.
All 9 players quickly surrounded him.
How did they move so fast?
How did they move so
Scott
fast?
wondered.
Scott wondered.
The leader of the pack moved in close. He came face to face.
The leader of the pack moved in close. He came face
with Scott.
Face with Scott.
I must be dreaming, Scott thought.
I must be dreaming, Scott thought.
Wake up! Wake up! He told himself.
He told himself.
You in?
You in?
The werewolf growled with meaty breath. Scott could not speak.
Scott could not speak.
He started to sweat.
He started to sweat.
Suddenly, Scott didn't feel so good. Me? Scott finally said. But I'm not a werewolf.
But I'm not a werewolf.
Just then, the clouds above parted.
The clouds above parted.
Full moon shined in the night sky.
A full moon shined in the night sky.
At the same time, the bite on Scott's arm burned. Then, in the moonlight, a thick coat of fur grew on his hands.
Then, in the moonlight, a thick coat of fur grew on his hand.
Then his arms, his legs, his face. Sorry, said one of the werewolves, but we needed one more player. Scott looked at the full moon again. Then he let out a long, low howl. Game on, Scott growled.